What is going on, legend? Rhyme Magic here, and in this video I'm going to reveal 3 main questions that you can answer to find your life's purpose. Now, if you're new to this channel, make sure you click the subscribe button so you can keep in touch with all the new videos that I put out there. Let's get into this. Now, first and foremost, before we talk about what the questions are, you need to understand something about your purpose. Your purpose is something that you don't figure out in here, but you figure it out here. That means action, movement, experiencing, touching, feeling, which is why it's very difficult with the system of going to college and universities. It doesn't resonate with me massively because you're not getting to experience it. You're not getting to try before you buy. Now, this quote was the thing that allowed me to find my purpose. Action precedes clarity. We so often need to know exactly what is the right thing, but I want to get it right in here so that before we actually start moving and getting in the right direction. Whereas movement and taking action, every time you take a step, a new option illuminates itself. More clarity illuminates itself. And if you think about your life, there are so many things where you started, you didn't know where you were going to be, and all of a sudden, just one thing led to the next, and you're at this whole different place. This is what your purpose is like. You can't keep trying to analyze what your purpose is. So I'm going to give you an activity. Please trust me on this. Please trust me. I want you living on your purpose. And if you just trust the advice here, I promise you, you'll get to your purpose quicker than if you don't. You deserve that. You deserve to be living on purpose. In some studies of wisdom-based studies, religious backgrounds, Vedic wisdom, they talk about your purpose being your dharma. And it's essentially it's been brought into the modern world as this big thing. What's your purpose? And I really believe in that. I believe that everyone has a big purpose. And these questions are going to help you reveal options. And then I'm going to give you a process for what you do with these questions. Now, all I want you doing is step 1 is we're going to use these questions for you to brainstorm and create options. Create some ideas for where you can move. Okay? And then I'm going to talk about how to process the ideas. So the first question that I want you to answer is if you had to work 16 hours a day, every single day for the rest of your life, and I'm going to add something I didn't write here, and you're never allowed to retire until the day that you die, what would you do? What right now, based on who you are, don't think about it, just what would you do? What would you spend your time doing if you had to do this one thing every day for the rest of your life? What would you do? And you might think, oh, I don't know, between this or this, or I'd do this, maybe I'd do this, maybe I'd do this. Write them all down. I want you to get more. We're going to go wide first, then we're going to narrow down. So we're going to create more options, and then we're going to get more specific. So if you had to work 16 hours a day, meaning all day pretty much, because you're only awake for 16 hours every day and you sleep for 8 hours, that's 24 hours. So that's the whole, you wake up, you start work, then you finish work and you go to sleep. For the rest of your life, you never retire. What would you do? Just trust what comes up and write them down. Do a brainstorm here. Better still, if you're like, oh, I don't have a notepad, I'm just watching a video. Go in the comments, write them in the comments, just brainstorm and then click go so you can refer back to them. 2, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? If you knew you couldn't fail. So many times people choose careers based on what they think was possible. But you're capable of so much more than you realize, and you don't know. Most people overestimate what's possible in the short term and underestimate what's possible in the long term. I've found that the way that I view the world, I literally right now believe that I could become a famous rapper, I could become a famous speaker, definitely know I can become a famous YouTuber. I think I could pretty much do whatever I want. It's just about choosing what I really love to do and just leaning into it more, and I'm doing it. I'm doing what I love right now. But when I started, it was more like, but is it possible? How could I do that? They can do it. They're different than me. But what can I do? So the more that you go, you're actually capable of so much more. And this question helps you Create the options where you can start to create progress in that area. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? What comes up? You're like, oh, if I knew I couldn't fail, I'd launch a business. If I knew I wasn't going to fail, I'd try to become a musician. Like, what do you want to do? This is your purpose. This is not, what do I want to do for convenience? This is your whole life's purpose. We're creating exciting options here, and I'm here to tell you, you can do it. And a quote that I want to hit hard here that I just feel is really relevant is that you cannot fail at being yourself. You can't. And if you're thinking that you can, you're presupposing that the universe, God, or life has doomed you to fail. Because if you go out there and you're following your heart from this point for the rest of your life, and you identify what's most exciting for you, and you just start going in that direction, and your whole life is one big flop, I mean, what sort of, you've been set up, you've been jibbed. It's like you've been put on this earth, it's a one big laugh. You know, it's like the world's taking the piss out of you. It's not how it is. You may pursue something, and again, the action allows you to become more clear. Oh, I tried to become a musician, but I realized what I really like is helping organize music, or I like creating the songs, but the singing of them is less of the passion, and then you become a famous songwriter. Or you really like, I like the music production side, and you become a famous music producer. Or you like the agent side, and you become a music agent that helps people get gigs because you really love socializing, and you actually are a really good number two, meaning a behind the scenes. And you love that, you'd way prefer that, but you don't know until you start to move. And this is why action precedes clarity. So you just got to trust, you can't fail at being yourself. You can't feel like, oh yeah, this is where I want to go after it, and then your life's one big flop. You just got to keep moving, keep adjusting. We'll get more to that in a bit. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? More options. Put them in the comments. Question 3. If you never got paid, what would you do? And this is exploring options based on what most people hold most people back. Fear of failure. Money is such, yeah, of course I'd love to go and do charity work, but how the hell am I going to make money from that? Money is just it's a dangerous thing. And it doesn't mean that you can't also factor that into your decision making, but it'll be blocking you from even opening up to ideas. You might be like, charity, blah, blah, I want to do something. And then it's like, oh, charity. If I wasn't going to get paid, I'd do charity. And then you write it down as an option. You're like, but I also want to get paid. And then you're like, social enterprise. I'd launch a social enterprise where I could make money, but we gave a huge amount back to charity. And you're like, actually, that excites the crap out of me. So just trust the process here. If you never got paid, what would you do? And these are the 3 main questions, but I put a bonus question. And I also want you to write down ideas for this. The bonus question is, if you could be the best in the world at anything, what would it be? If you could be the best in the world at anything, and you might be like, I'd be a tennis player. I'd be a singer. It's like, again, you don't have to do any of these things. We're just exploring different angles and prompts to get you thinking about what you'd like to do. And you're like, oh, okay, tennis. Doesn't mean you have to be the best tennis player in the world and that's your mission or that's your purpose. But you might go, well, I could be a tennis coach. You're like, holy crap, I never thought of that. That actually excites the crap out of me. And all of a sudden you train to become a tennis coach. There's a YouTube channel, I'm pretty sure, called Fuzzy Yellow Balls. And the guy that runs it is like he's a tennis strategist. And he makes millions of dollars. And some of the best tennis players in the world leverage his expertise because he thinks about tennis strategy differently. He's just some kid that's into tennis. He's not a good player at all. But that's one hell of a cool job. My friend runs like a data collection company for sports. And then all he does is spend his whole time like looking at sports stats, which he just loves. It's like his main passion, a multi-million-dollar business. It's like, you can do it. You can do, if you knew you couldn't fail, that's why we're using that as a prompt, because you can do more than what you expect. So write down that. If you could be the best in the world at anything, what would it be? Just write all the prompts out. Get excited about this. Go, hang on a second. You know, I'm just watching this video with Ryan, and I'm thinking about all these extra things that I haven't thought about before. Give yourself permission to think about these things and get excited, because trust me, I know a thing or two about passion and purpose. You can do it. You can do it. You can do whatever is on your heart. You can't achieve anything that's not meant for you. Some things aren't meant for you. But if it's not meant for you, it won't excite you. So you're going to go after the things that excite you. All right? Answer these questions. Get all the prompts. These are step one. So if you need to, pause the video and just do a big brainstorm. Pause and just go through and just get as many options out as possible. That's the first step, okay? Now, I'm assuming you're back. You've done all of this. Let's move forward. You've now got a series of options here. You've just extracted a bunch of options. That's step number one. Step number two, I kind of like skipped the way that I've written it here, is you're going to look at all of them. And what you're going to do is you're going to look through all the options and you go, which ones just feel contracted? Like, I don't want to do that. And you're just going to cross them all out. Just cross them all out, delete them off. Any ones that are like, if I had to choose, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Just cross off the obvious no's, okay? Then what I want you to do is I want you to look at what's remaining. And I want you just to scan over the list and just witness what feels most exciting, most expansive. If it scares the crap out of you, that's a good thing. If you go, oh, I'd like to do that, and then your mind wanders and sneakily says, oh, but I couldn't do that, I'll just leave that. No, none of that. Scan the list. What feels, not thinks. This is a feeling-based thing. This is intuition. Steve Jobs, one of the most genius intellectual minds that the world's ever seen, at his Stanford speech, one of his most famous speeches, said, trust your heart and intuition because it somehow already knows who you truly want to become. A lot of us just, especially when we're young, because the younger generation, myself, you guys, most likely that are watching this, you think it's stupid. Intuition, feelings, what feels right. The reason you think it's stupid is because the person that influences what you think in the world is your parents. And your parents from that generation are logical, what are facts, go to uni, what makes sense. Steve Jobs is successful. He's someone that's actually found a purpose. Most people haven't lived out a really deep, enriching purpose from a vocation standpoint. You could say anyone's got purpose in life. Their kids are their purpose. Your parents' purpose. But I'm talking about a big purpose here. And if you want to have a big purpose, you've got to listen to people that live a big purpose. I've got an amazing purpose. I love what I do. Steve Jobs loved what he did. So when he says intuition, trust your heart and intuitions, that's feeling based. I'm saying scan the list and feel it. Literally feel in. What do you just feel a pull towards on that list? And just trust it. And I want you to circle it if it's written down, or just like highlight it. Just take it. That's the thing. That's where I want you to start. Okay? So then what you're going to do is you're going to move. You go, this is the thing. And the way that you move is you go, what could I do first to start exploring this? You don't have to, if let's say for example, you wrote down, my purpose, and you got really excited, I'd love to become a developer. You don't need to be a developer, but you could research development courses, or you could read a book or like research who are the most famous developers of all time, or maybe it's tennis coaching. You research how to become a tennis coach. You don't have to, this first step doesn't mean you just teleport there, because there's not a uni course for everything. And most of what I know, most purposes don't have a uni course, okay? Because universities feed the workforce. That's what they do. They chew up people and they feed the workforce. But most of the workforce wouldn't say that they're living on their absolute dream purpose. So it's not going to have a cut and dry, this is the step-by-step process to get there. You're going to have to do some research. You're going to have to move, and that moving might be doing some investigating. Investigating for the purpose of, I want to understand this more. I'm going to start to immerse myself in it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to surrender yourself to go, I don't have to, because if you read, and I want to challenge you to do this, you read any biography or watch a movie of someone famous, they always have the craziest life. It's always such a rocky journey. They always go one way and then they're like, oh, this is not it. And then they quit and then they get back into it and then they pivot another way. And then it's actually, all that was just irrelevant and the actual direction was this. Your life's gonna somehow be similar. And you think you might be able to avoid it. I thought that I could, but I couldn't. It came and bit me. I was like, I can get through business without any failure. I got slapped so hard and humbled so hard because you can't avoid challenge. That's a part of it. And so you don't have to nail this and be like, this is what is definitely it. You just have to trust your heart. And this is the way you can move for the rest of your life, but specifically for the start of activating your purpose. What feels expansive? Start moving. Because when you investigate, it might make you more excited about it or less excited about it. You might come back to the list and be like, what else feels good? And then start exploring that, okay? But move first, knowing that it's okay if you take a bit of time. So what I would love to do, because I go through the comments, is I would love for you to put in a comment, what for you was that thing that you're gonna start moving towards. Do one thing, the first step. You don't need to know the second step. Second step will become clearer once you've done the first one. But I want to know, what's the direction that you got excited about? Like, what's the option that you're going to start moving towards, knowing that it might not be where you land, but it's where you're moving towards? Drop that in the comments. And if you found this video valuable, make sure you like it and subscribe to this channel so I can support you on the process of activating your dreams. You deserve it. Don't think about this and go, oh, just save it and watch this video later. Just trust it. It doesn't have to take time to find somewhere to start moving. It might take some action to actually get really certain, but it doesn't take time to figure out what to do with the first step. This process is enough. And if you go away and you're like, no, I need to get more clarity. That's the opposite of this. That's what I did for years that I regret. So just move. Drop it in the comments. Where are you going to start moving for it? If you kind of just listen to this without doing the activities, just shake yourself off, drop the pattern, do the activities, and then finish it. Comment, what was the thing that you feel most certain that you're just going to take one step in the direction of? You got this, guys. Hope you have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next video.